entrusted with such a weapon. But we have no choice.
Hey film friends, I'm Nick Furman, this is Furman On Film. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we'll be taking a closer look at Oppenheimer and asking the central question: is this in fact Christopher Nolan's best film? Now if you're here today, I'm assuming you've already seen this picture and don't really need a detailed plot description. But if you do, I'll let my friends over at IMDb hook you up, because I want to dig right in. Without further ado, let's put Oppenheimer under the microscope. Okay, so let's start with the case for Oppie as the pinnacle of Nolan's film oeuvre. Well, we could certainly point to the acting at this point, but there are plenty of great performances in other Nolan works. Hello, Ledger's Joker would like a word. Still, Cillian Murphy's visage, read haunting eyes, dominate the screen here, and he is entirely captivating. Matt Damon is almost in a different movie from everyone else, adding bravura and humor, which sort of comes seeping out of this arrogant machismo. And my God, is it nice to see Robert Downey Jr. finally take off that superhero costume and start showing some of the promising acting chops that were a part of his rise in the late 80s and early 90s once again. Bottom line, these performances stand up to any other of Nolan's work. Now let's talk about sound design. This is always great in a Nolan picture, but it's unreal here. I think we have to point to the fact that this is a 3-hour biopic, which follows some of the standard beats of those kinds of films, while rarely dragging and even finding its own unique modes of expression. A good friend of mine described it as being avant-garde. So we have these standard biopic plot lines which are intercut with these walls of sound and fascinating images. They're disorienting, but in them, Nolan has found a way of bringing the inner turmoil or unrest of his characters outward into something visual and almost tactile. He's just never been better in this regard. Finally, we've got to break down the tripartite nature of this film's plotting. If you've been following along with Nolan's filmography, you know that this is one of his little personal private pets. He loves jacking with time, often with suspect scientific underpinnings for doing so, but I digress. So we have a sort of familiar linear narrative moving from youth to prominence, which is cut away from without warning or signaling to 2 other time periods and court cases of a sort. And one of these is rendered in black and white to further delineate differences in chronology. On the positive side, this keeps the film fresh and engaging. It never really drags during its prodigious runtime. We're always on our toes and the dialogue snaps and moves. Actually, it appears Nolan rubbed shoulders with some Sorkin while he was writing this one, because rarely have so many males in rooms talking been this enthralling. Okay, let's move on to the cons of considering this his best work. Well, to me, the knocks against Oppenheimer come down to just how you feel about only 2 questions. Number 1, does the third act of the film work? Namely, does the final hour drag? Is the Downey plotline as engrossing and affecting as all that went before it? And 2, how do you feel about the character arcs and writing of the 2 female leads here? For my own part, the answer to the first question is, sorta. I think there's an ungenerous reading of Oppenheimer that says that Nolan just can't get enough of his own idiosyncrasies. He just has to have 3 different timelines, has to use black and white out of sequence for effect. In other words, that it doesn't really enhance the narrative at all. It's just kind of a cool parlor trick. But I don't think that that is totally true here. I mean, in a sense, Nolan is kind of behind the 8 ball from the jump, because you can't really come back from the Trinity test. That was the hype leading up to the picture. Nolan's gonna set off an atom bomb in the desert! It's the high point of the sound design and visuals. It's the best use of silence in a picture in a while. But you have to land the plane. You have to deal with the reverberations of what just happened. And the scene of Oppie addressing the crowd is just top-notch filmmaking. So too are some of the later scenes with him and Einstein. Still, the film really did grind to a halt for me, and the setup of RDJ as the ultimate villain just left something to be desired. Now, as to the second question, yeah, I think the women get short shrift in this one. Big time. Emily Blunt is one of our most talented actresses, and here she's basically relegated to just rah-rahing on the side, then ambling around drunkenly yelling, "Why won't you challenge them?" She gets a sick monologue in the third act, but she's never really critical to the story. And Florence Pugh, her breasts are more central than anything that comes out of her mouth in this one. Ooh. I'm not saying it's a good thing. The only defense I've heard of this that makes any kind of sense to me at all is that Nolan is giving us Oppenheimer's perspective. This is how the physicist treated women in real life, and so the film captures that on celluloid. But given Nolan's previous dead wife problem, I'm still wrestling with this one. Okay, so in conclusion, what's the answer to our central question? Look, I can obviously point to higher moments in other works. The Dark Knight and Inception most notably. Visually stunning, set piece galore, big tentpole pictures, which contain their own logical inconsistencies when you break them down. Wait, you're out of limbo, Leo? But 20 minutes ago you just said... I can point to films which are more streamlined and airtight in the same 3-timeline structure. And it's a picture of Dunkirk, so like the poster. And I know some will ride for the raw familial emotion at the heart of Interstellar. It just won't be me. Or the sheer invention and low-budget wonder of Memento, which I adore, by the way. For all these reasons, Oppenheimer may honestly not be my favorite Nolan picture. But with this kind of scale and score and impressive writing and acting in service of a grand narrative, with the ability to take a standard rote and staid subgenre of films and just blow it to smithereens, yes, I think this is his best. Well, there you have it. If you enjoyed this review, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We'd love to hear your comments. Do you think this is Nolan's best work? Also, don't forget to visit FurmanOnFilm.com for even more movie content. Thanks for watching. I'm Nick Furman. This is Furman on Film. Stay firm, my friends.